Hello and welcome to Flight 1010. This is Captain Durkin speaking from 35,000 feet en route from San Diego, California to Monterey, California. We have a flying time of just about 20 minutes on today's Impact Show flight. I want you to sit back, relax, and enjoy today's show. What's up, my friends? Todd Durkin here, and yes, I am at 35,000 feet, and I just got to tell you how much I love flying. For those of you who've been following me for any length of time, you know I always call this like a 35,000-foot spa retreat, where you can sit back, relax, read, write, and now even record or listen to some podcasts. And the reason why I wanted to record this podcast today, as you hear the white noise from the plane, is because one of the questions that just came in, I last week announced on my text community. Many of you are part of my text community. If you're not, make sure you are part of that. All you have to do is text me. Number is 619-304-2216, 2216. And I asked you, hey, what would be some questions that you would like to hear on some upcoming episodes? And several of you asked me to share my routine when I'm keynoting. And that's what I'm actually getting to do here on this flight. Tomorrow, I'm keynoting for a company up here in Monterey. It's called CASA, California Ambulatory Surgery Association, where this will be doctors and nurses. Oh, there's the other captain. That's the co-captain. Let's see what the co-captain has to say. Oh, he's part of the Impact Show today on this Alaska flight. All right. There he is. He made his announcement. So now we got two captains on the flight today. As I'm sitting here in seat 3A on the left side of the Alaska Airlines flight, we're going up the coast. I'm looking at the Pacific Ocean. And I want to say thank you for sharing all of the questions that you would love to hear on the podcast. And I'm going to do my best to address them. Hey, I'm going to be flying a lot in the next couple of weeks. I've got this keynote here today, and as you listen to this, just 5 days prior to it dropping, and I'm going to be back east all next week. I'll be keynoting at my good friend Gus Cheliotis' Nassau Financial Group. So Cheliotis and company will be having 500 strong people at his company, and we're gonna really maximize what we're doing back there. But one of the questions, or several that came through, but the one in specific from my good friend Ryan Morse asked the question about, hey, TD, how do you prepare and prep for a keynote? And while that could be its own course, and maybe it will someday, I want to share today 5 tips to crush a keynote or a meeting or an event, or if you're an athlete and you want to crush your game. I think there's some things that are important here that I wanted to frame up for you, because I'm in the midst of it right now as I'm traveling to get ready to crush a keynote, and that keynote's going to be called Impact 6 Ways to Live Your Best Life Now, and maybe you'll glean some of that here today. But I want to give you the insight, the mindset, and what it takes to peak for whether it be an hour, a day, a week, or whatever that length of time that you have a performance for as well. So without further ado, let's dive into the show today and get rocking and rolling. 5 tips to crush a keynote. The first one is, and this is more of a category, and I have travel rules. You got to have travel rules. And here are some of my travel rules when it comes to crushing a keynote. The keynote for CASA is tomorrow afternoon. But here it is the day before in the afternoon. I'm flying up. And the reason why is, number one, is you got to travel a day prior to an event, because nowadays with the flight cancellations and all of the delays and everything else, you don't want to have the stress of possibly not being able to show up on time or make an event, right? So that is a really important aspect, because I don't know about you, but you can't trust travel these days. More importantly, I have a hydration rule when flying. And my rule is this: 16 ounces of water per hour. 16 ounces of water per hour when flying. Now do the math. Now this is only about an hour flight, so I'll only have 16 ounces on this flight. But next week, when I get back here, as I record this on a Tuesday, I'll get back on Thursday. Friday, I'll be leaving for the East Coast, and it'll be that's about 80 ounces on a flight. So you're like, oh man, that's a lot of water. Yes, it is, but flying dehydrates you when you're up in altitude, and it's part of the exercise routine and good for the circulation when you get up and go to the bathroom. And one of the things with hydration rules, it's pure water, and you bring some water on the plane with you, and you make sure you're doing that and not slugging coffee or alcohol on a plane. So hydration rule: no junk food when traveling. I mean, I just do not consume sugar when on the road. And the other one that's important is, and I'll talk about it later on today in the nutrition side of things, is one of the travel rules is the day I'm traveling, a mandatory salad a day. Why? Because it's easy in the airports to eat like garbage because you're eating out, and that's hard to do. So just buy yourself a salad at least once a day when you're traveling. And last thing on the travel side, number one, is you got to stay in a good hotel, right? You got to stay in a good hotel with a gym. Is anyone as crazy as me? But you go to the gym before you actually check out your room. Yeah, that's me. One of the mandatory things that is crucial when traveling, especially when you're delivering a keynote, is you got to make sure you are dialed into your routine. And a hotel gym or a gym closest nearby that is going to allow you to put together a great workout is important. And one more thing, actually, on travel day, ideally, if you keynote or you're a speaker or you want to be, I like to do the room inspection the day before the event if possible. Why? Because that allows me to see the room that I'm going to be in so that I can visualize tonight what's going to be happening tomorrow. Now, I have the good fortune that tomorrow's keynote is in the afternoon, but I'm still going to try to get in that room tonight so I can see the layout, see the stage. Is it a 12-inch, 16-inch, 24-inch riser? What's the lighting like? How's the audio? How's the sound? What's the layout of the room? So that when I'm prepping, I can visualize that. So those are some travel rules for number one. Number two, I've got 5, is the night before the event. Now, for me, it's a motivational keynote tomorrow. For you, it might be a game tomorrow. It might be a high school football game, a college football game, an NFL game. It might be another sport. You might have a huge event at your gym, whatever it may be. Here's the rules the night before your event. For me, it's a great dinner. A great dinner. Now, I say a great dinner, I'm not talking, you go crazy, you hog wild. I'm talking a really clean dinner. I love to have steak, salad, and some greens. But on that steak, I tell them I don't want butter, I don't want salt, I want it clean. Please put all that stuff, leave it behind, leave it to the side, whatever. But I love to have a steak and greens, some spinach and some sauteed spinach and lots of water, 0 alcohol. No alcohol. You got to make sure you're on your A game. And when you have a steak, greens, salad, and no dessert, that's going to set you up. If you have that a few hours before going to bedtime, nutritionally, that you can sleep well. Also, the night before the event, I think is a great time. I always review my notes, my PowerPoint, and the audience. What do you mean by the audience? Like, who you're speaking to. Well, why is that important? Because what's important is, one of the things that you got to do is when you know your audience. I know here tomorrow at the California Ambulatory Surgical Association that I'll be speaking to, that these folks are entrepreneurs. I know that there are many physicians that are going to be in the office that are in the crowd. I know that there's going to be nurses. I know there's administrators. So when the Ambulatory Surgery Association says, okay, we want Todd Durkin to come in here, I need to speak their language and have stories that are going to resonate with them. And many of them, because they come from healthcare, right? They've had a really challenging few years. I mean, with COVID and everything else, so they're running on fumes. They're tired. They're burnt out. So not only are they looking for energy, but strategies and protocols that I'm going to give them so that they can really take something away besides, hey, I was motivated, he was great, and this and that. No. I want them to be fired up, but I want them to leave with strategies that they can implement and take action steps and then hopefully be held accountable to that. So that's what happens like before is making sure, number one, I review all the audience, but then I can also make sure all the stories I'm going to share with them are going to resonate, right? And then lastly is the last 30 to 60 minutes is just complete relaxation to set myself up for a great night's sleep, right? Sleep is crucial for all of us. But when you're getting ready for game time, and that's what it is for me, man, it's like Super Bowl every time I'm going up. I don't care if it's at, Christian high school like I was last week for chapel, if it's CASA tomorrow, if it's Nassau Financial Group or any other association conference event, you got to make sure that the rest and recovery you get the night before is crucial, right? Number three of 5, the pregame routine. Your pregame routine. This is my pregame routine the night before, which leads me to the pregame routine. Why? Because it's the night before that sets up your pregame routine because you wake up hopefully energized. Now tomorrow my keynote is at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That's late. So I have most of the day. I don't always love kickoffs late, but when 4 o'clock comes, I need to have them ready to run through a wall for the action steps that will happen. So here's what's going to happen when I wake up before I eat, going right to the gym. This is the typical protocol. 30 minutes on the elliptical. I take out my notes once again, and while on the elliptical for 30 minutes, I go through my entire talk. I literally will be visualizing what I'm going to be saying, the audience, the reactions, the stories, the ups and downs that I'll share throughout the 60-minute keynote while I'm moving. This allows me to feel what they're going to be feeling and what I'll be sharing. After the 30 minutes, I'll spend a 20-minute strength workout. Typically, I'm going to do a 20-minute BFR, blood flow resistance workout. I'll bring my BFR cuffs, get them on. I don't want to lift heavy on game day, but I do want to get a good pump. And a typical workout for the 20 minutes with the cuffs on are going to be like, for example, a circuit one. I'll do 20 body weight squats, 20 push-ups, 20 lat pull downs, 3 rounds of that, right? So 20 squats, 20 push-ups, 20 lat pull downs, and I'll just go to the second circuit, which will typically be arm farm. Yep, all you arm farm fanatics out there, you're laughing. I'll just take the last typically 7 to 10 minutes, rope overhead extensions and press downs, my all-time favorite, just overhead rope extensions and press downs and bicep curls until my arms can't move anymore, right? So you get the pump, 7 to 10 minutes. Now, always have some kind of a finisher after that. And the finisher, it could be core, right? Finisher. It could be a little bit of metabolic, depending on the gym. If they have an Aerodyne bike, I'll do 3 to 5 sprints at about 10 calories in each one of those. But this way, I've got the 30-minute elliptical. I got a 20-minute great BFR strength workout. And the last 5-10 minutes, I'll stretch, relax, get ready to rock and roll. Pound of protein shake, which I usually bring a packet of protein with me within 30 minutes. And then it's breakfast time. So the breakfast time, listen up. Don't eat this. Well, these are my rules, but you create yours. You don't have to have game day. I don't eat pancakes, French toast, or cereal ever on game day. I just feel heavy when I'm doing that. So it's easy if you're at a hotel to go to the buffet and you just mac out. But then you feel sluggish and lethargic, and I don't like feeling like that. I like feeling light when I'm speaking. Typically, it's going to be eggs, maybe a little bit of oatmeal with some fruit in there. Love the fruit with the blueberries and strawberries, a little bit of agave, and then a lot of hydration. So I will purposely almost undereat just to give myself the fuel necessary on that. Now, tomorrow on the keynote, it's going to be 2.5 times I'll eat between breakfast, lunch, keep it light again, which will be a tuna salad with a lot of hydration. And then right before, about an hour before the talk, I will have some form of a snack. Typically, I have brought here in my bag dried fruit, and I'll have another protein shake so that my appetite is satiated. I'm not craving anything before that, right? And then that's it. Pre-game routine is on. Eat the breakfast, shower, and then after whatever, like tomorrow will be lunch. Then it's time to get suited and booted 90 minutes prior to. Suited and booted, put on the uniform. And when you put that uniform on, it's like putting on a football uniform. It's whatever your uniform is. And when you put that up and you lace up your shoes, it's a mission. It's a mission. Now tomorrow, just like any time, whether it's a fitness conference, a conference for doctors and nurses, for financial professionals, when it's go time, and the goal is changing lives. Now, while I go into the mindset is I'm going to change one life, I know tomorrow there'll be 500 lives. I'm not sure who's going to be impacted. I'm not sure which one's going to be listened more, depending on people's walks. But all I say is I'm going to change one life. I know I want that place ready to erupt when we're done. Number 4 is just that. It's game time. Game time. So we talk about, hey, TD, tell me about, your routine. Notice 1, 2, and 3 all happened before I even got to the stage, and I'm suited and booted and ready to go. Game time is this: arrive 1 hour prior to the talk. I've already seen the stage. I've already seen everything. Get mic'd up. Know what I got to do. Relax. Do some breath work. Got that from Tony Robbins. Just some breath work from the inside that's going to heat up the inside. And then when the name is called, it's time to crush the keynote. And, some people's worst fear is public speaking. I can't imagine that because I love having a little bit of butterflies. And yes, I still do get butterflies every time I'm speaking. I don't care if it's to, if it's 100 people, 1,000 people, if it's 10 people, there's always those little butterflies say, okay, it's rock and roll. That's a good thing. So how do you crush your keynote or your talk or your breakout session, or you want to have the ultimate performance in your game on Friday night or Saturday or Sunday? How do you do that? Well, number 1, trust your preparation. Trust your preparation. Guys, and I'm not underestimating this. It's typically between 50 to 100 hours of preparation goes into a keynote. Literally, between all of the talks leading up to it, between the tweaking of the presentation and creating the presentation, between visualizing, practicing, thinking, and all of the hours that have gone in the even previous to lead you to the place you're in, regardless of the size of the stage, preparation is key. The second aspect of crushing your keynote is, again, reiterating the importance of connecting with your audience. Connecting with your audience. And this is important. It's one of the lessons I've learned in 20 years of my career, but especially in the last 5 years of doing a lot more keynoting and speaking and loving that in the corporate world, is knowing who you're speaking to. I'll never forget one of the greatest mistakes I made speaking. I don't know if it's a mistake, but it was a lesson learned. Is I was early in my career, my training career, and I was training a lot of athletes, just like I still do today. But the company was Bath and Body Works, and it was 95% women in the audience. And they were on fire. They were excited. I crushed that talk, and I felt awesome. And I got a rousing ovation afterwards, and that. But then what I realized is this: one of the gals afterwards, she asked me about my stories. Well, I realized my stories were all male athletes. They were all male athletes. And I'm thinking, man, TD, that wasn't a good example of some of the other ways I could have woven in some of the female entrepreneurs who I've worked with, or some of the leaders in that I've worked with or have learned from, both male and female, but it was very just athlete-centric at the time. Now, knowing who I'm speaking to, if it's to a coaches conference or if it's to a sales group or people. I will always have athletes in my presentation because that's the world I come from and the lessons. What's not important is just the athletes. It's whatever the story is, whoever's in the story is it. How can the audience relate to the story? Because how is it about them? It's about them. It's not about the speaker. It's not about the story. It's about the speaker telling the story so that you can impact them to think about how does this impact me? So I laugh now because that was probably 15 years ago. Hotel Del Coronado, great conference, and they loved it. But it was just that one gal's comment to me about like she didn't know who some of the athletes were, and these are world-class, well-known athletes. And I said, okay, use one or two in your stories, but not every story, if that makes sense, right? So you got to connect with them. Yeah, there's the other flight attendant. I love it. So you got to connect with your audience. The third aspect is in a keynote, to crush a keynote, it's all about energy, but the energy you bring. Now, some people might think, oh, TD, are you just crazy the whole time on stage? Absolutely not. No. Matter of fact, you don't want to be. I think in any good performance, whether if you've ever studied drama or actors and actresses or watched a good show, or heck, even in a game, there's ups and downs, there's momentum shifts. And I believe in an hour keynote, there's got to be these energy shifts of the highs and the lows. There's people that want to get out of their seat and clap and high five. There's also times that, hey, they may actually shed a tear. That's the beauty of a great keynote, that you can touch someone's soul to inspire them to be the best that they can possibly be. Number 4 on how to crush a keynote on the game time aspect is the content has to be spot on. The content, not just the stories, but the content. What are you delivering? So in all of the different pre-conference interviews and talks and conversations you had with leaders of the organization, the person who is organizing the whole event, maybe it's a meeting planner or someone within a convention and bureau center, you got to make sure you understand that content is crucial. So be like, hey, do you always give the exact same keynote? No, you don't. While the points might be the same, you're going or similar, you're going to actually tweak your content and then find the stories that most relate to that audience. And that's a crucial thing. So for example, tomorrow, Impact 6 Ways to Live Your Best Life Now. One of the points I make is about your most important asset is your energy. So that these folks who have been stretched thin and, it's in any industry, but where they're burnt out and it's hard to, find or keep great people at the surgical centers beside the doctors, but the admin and help support it's all about your energy. Well, we've got to make sure who these busy folks have the ability to dial in their routines, their physical routines and their habits. So while that is ubiquitous across any industry, I will make sure that the stories that I use there and the content that's delivered is going to be applicable to them. And the last one, as far as just, game time is, and that so you get your preparation, you connect your energy, and content has to be spot on is just remember this about, crushing a keynote. You got to get reps. That Bath and Body Works story that I share, one of my biggest blunders, it was probably one of my better keynotes. It was early on, but the only way to learn and become great is to get reps. So you young athletes out there, get reps. Don't be afraid to fail. You want to be a speaker someday? Don't be afraid to fail. It's often said that if you want to speak more, then speak more. If you want to speak more, then speak more. Speak more free at your local community Kiwanis Club, Knights of Columbus, Women's Club, religious organizations. It doesn't matter what it is. Get your reps. Right? Get your reps. Very, very important. Lastly, number 5 of 5, when we talk about, 5 tips to crush a keynote, is you had number 1 on that, travel rules, 2, night before the event, 3, pre-game routine, 4, it's game time, and 5, download your performance after the event. Download your performance. Hopefully, number 1, you filmed it. If you can film it, great. If they're filming it, you just want to make sure you get that film. If they're not, you may want to hire someone. Go to Google, hire somebody to film it. Why? Because you can evaluate like you're an athlete watching the film after a performance. The only way to get better is to evaluate your performance. Did you like the way you moved on stage or didn't move? Did you crush one of the stories or not? And you can get better at it. What were those ups and downs throughout the talk effective? What was the reaction of the audience? So film it. Number two, I love to do this about an hour or so after the talk, after the adrenaline has kind of worn off. Take notes on what went well and what didn't go well. And hopefully you have a lot more pluses than minuses. But the minuses are ways that you can improve. And if you have a speaking notebook where just, for any time you do a talk or an event or a game, like I would tell any of my athletes, is have your quarterback journal or, your journal and your notes where you keep that. Now, what went well, what didn't go well, and let's keep getting better because there's always room for improvement. Hey, I want to continue to speak more and more. I want to be on the stage 50 times a year at some of the largest stages where, we've got 500 to 1,000 to 5,000 people and they're getting up on and absolutely on fire. That's the goal. It's game time for me when I do that. But the only way to do that is to keep getting better and better and speaking more. Also, I'd say this is follow up with people when you're done. Follow up with either your attendees, give them the opportunity to either DM you or to connect with you or give them a resource or tell them about a book that you wrote. Follow up with them. And then speaking of follow up with the person who hired you to speak at the event, or again, maybe it was a meeting planner. Why? Number one, you want to get the evaluation of, hey, what did the audience think? Did they enjoy the talk? What was the rating? If I was a 9.8 out of 10, that's awesome. I do want to be the highest rated speaker at the event. I want to make sure that people can remember that talk forever, that it impacts them. But the only way to do that is to get evaluated and to speak to the people who are planning the meeting. And if it's a big conference, there's probably a formal evaluation. If it's a smaller company, 10 to 20 people, then ask the CEO or whoever's in charge of the meeting is, hey, what was the feedback? What did the people like about it? Was there anything else that you would have loved included? And hey, if I can serve you in the future, let me know. And if not, I know people that can help you, other speakers, other people in certain genres, because the power of a referral is always most important, right? So the last thing I'll say is this, is when you're all done with any speaking event or anything, celebrate, enjoy. It's all part of the process of getting better. For me, I love a great meal and I love to get some body work. If it's at a hotel or a resort, either that day or next day, you got to get in a major recovery mode. There's huge energy exposure in any event. If you're an athlete, you know what you feel like after a game. If you're a keynote speaker, you know when you give it your all. It's not just the 1 hour, it's the hours and days leading up to the event that all your mind and focus was on absolutely crushing the talk. So I thought that was a really good question that came in about, hey, how do you absolutely crush a keynote? I hope today's message from 35,000 feet were helpful for you. I hope they serve you in some way. And maybe you're not a speaker, but maybe you are someone who leads a company. Maybe you're someone who wants to grow in your career and you're going to be a speaker someday or a coach someday, or you're an athlete and you're looking to grow and get better. A lot of this today was all about the preparation for an event and what it takes to be your best self. And let me remind you as I get ready to land here,
By the way, you're not.
is make sure you do what you love to do. Do what you love to do today and this week. I want you uber dialed into what you love to do. Just last week we kicked off my new Impact Life Coaching Certification Program, and we have some amazing future impact coaches. But one of the first questions I ask them is, what are your gifts and what do you love to do? And you got to be dialed into what you love to do. For me, I know I love to coach and I love to speak. And the more I speak, the more I coach, and the more I coach, the more I speak. You got to know what you love to do and want to do more of. So think about that today as you're walking, as you're working out, as you're on a plane listening to this, and do what you love. And whatever you do, always have passion, purpose, and impact. My friends, thanks for listening to today's show from 35,000 feet. as always, I appreciate you spending time with me, and go out there and crush the week. I can't wait to see you on the ground or in the air. Without further ado, remember, train hard, eat right, live inspired, and go create impact.